Welcome back to the Football Terrace and the Top 6 show. Belgium humbled, Belgium flopped, Belgium beaten. I repeat that in case you are not listening at the back. Beaten by Slovakia, the biggest upset in European football, the European Championship football history, the lowest ranked team to ever beat a team as highly ranked as Belgium. An absolutely poor night for them. Egal was joining us soon and a few others. We're talking about the match. We're also reacting to some of the big transfer news today. Osimhen and Xavi Simons linked to Arsenal. Guirassy linked with a move to Chelsea. And we're looking at Branthwaite and a few others. A rejected bid from Spurs for Toney as well. But to start on that game, Henry, I mean, it was almost like Belgium picked up from where they left off at the World Cup, missing chance after chance after chance after chance.
Yeah, it's one of those days for them. You know, Lukaku has an offside goal ruled out, and then I don't necessarily know if that. I think it's harsh on Openda for the handball, but yeah, in my opinion, I don't think Trossard probably should have started as soon as Openda come on. He seemed to be making the right decisions in the first half. Belgium probably should have been 2-0 up in 5 minutes, but fair play, fair play to Slovakia that they dug in. They got the goal from a massive error from flipping Jeremy Doku. I mean, what is he trying to do there? I don't know. And fair play, they capitalised on it, and it's a relatively good finish. But that defence, they've gone from the likes of Vermaelen, Alderweireld, Vertonghen to Fayez and Dibast. I mean, they've got no Courtois, they've got Casteels. I think, is he still at Wolfsburg? He might be at someone else now, but yeah, their team's not what it once was. No way.
Belgium are the biggest letdown out of any European golden generation. They've consistently failed, and starting off the tournament this way, it just representation of what Belgium have been. They've been letdowns. They've always had great talent. They've always had great teams, but now it's coming to an end, and it's just that team was unrecognizable at times. They didn't look like they were playing as a unit, and the error leading to the goal, those things happen, but they have the quality to get back into the game. One of the most frustrating games you can watch if you're a Belgian fan, and I honestly feel no sympathy for them. They did it to themselves. You have to finish your chances, and Lukaku, this guy, how many times can we see a photo of Lukaku in a game with his hands on his head? I've seen that so many times. Like, it happens every game. It's ridiculous.
It certainly is. And look, this is nowhere near the level of Belgian personnel that we saw 4 years ago, 8 years ago. Their golden generation has certainly passed. There's a few sort of burning embers from that generation of players who are, who overall flopped in themselves. But it was just a wasteful. So it's what I would call the ITES Merchants' wet dream. This game, there was lots of good skills, there was loads of good touches, there was good approach play, but in the cold, hard light of day, the inability to deliver was key, and that is why, especially for attacking players, output is massive. And yes, Lukaku, I know he converted 2 chances, but the 2 that he converted were rightfully ruled out. The first one, 100% offside. The second one, look, at the end of the day, we've known now for 5 years in football that a handball in the build-up, and if this ball doesn't hit his hand, the ball goes across him, and it's then in the path of the opponent. So if it doesn't hit his hand, the direction the ball's going in, he doesn't control it. So in my very, very humble opinion, it was rightfully ruled out. I will say again, VAR and their speed of which they get these decisions correct so far at this tournament has been amazing. So two goals, yes, disallowed rightfully so. Outside of that, every single member of this Belgian team should hang their head in shame. It was lackluster at times. It lacked end product. It lacked belief. It was just awful. And look, Doku, loads of good skills, loads of good tricks. No end product whatsoever. And then the one thing you're all taught as a kid when you play football is you don't play football in your own half. Messes around with it at the edge of his own box and concedes the goal. He was awful. And I want to say KDB as well. Everyone knows how highly I rate him. I put him in the top 5 Premier League midfielders of all time. I think he's that good. But he looked leggy, and dare I say it, so far over the hill today, it's unbelievable. He looked an absolute shadow of himself as well, and he was put into a deeper position. He was dropped deeper in midfield today, as opposed to that more attacking midfield stroke 10 role, and he ain't got the legs for it. he hasn't got the legs for it. This Slovakia team just dominated him. Yes, he had lots of the ball, but when they went at him, when they pushed him, when they made him run, he couldn't cope with it. And look, it's still likely Belgium qualify because the top 3 teams from groups can go through this year. But listen, they are absolutely, in my opinion, zero threat to the best 5 or 6 teams in this tournament. They're here to make up numbers as far as I'm concerned. They're a really, really poor team.
Terry, I was just going to say, I thought Kevin De Bruyne did what he could do. He created some chances, and it was up to the forwards to finish. Jeremy Doku had the worst game out of everybody on that pitch. And he's the one who should be blamed for this loss if you're a Belgium fan. Or somebody's going to blame an individual. For God's sakes, he conceded an error leading to a goal. And on the attacking end, he had opportunity after opportunity to get the ball into the box, into a dangerous area, and couldn't find anybody. So if I was going to pick out any one player to criticize, it would be him.
But I want to get into the difference, Egal. To be honest with you, this is, I think, looking at it in isolation, you're right. But if you're looking at, for example, any team, you're looking at the superstar, you're looking at the biggest name. Like, for example, yes, Doku made the mistake. Yes, maybe Lukaku missed the chances here and there. But at the end, Lukaku put the ball in the back of the net twice. He didn't have a greatest game. But I'm looking at the one, like, if France fails today, I'm going to look at the biggest superstar, which is Kylian Mbappe. I'm looking at Kevin De Bruyne to carry this team. What you said in the beginning of your argument is that he did what he can. Well, that's not enough for a superstar. The same, for example, if England look at Harry Kane and like, Harry Kane, you are the one that we're looking at to carry the team, for example. That is my argument only about Kevin De Bruyne. Because you are the superstar. Like Eden Hazard in that 2018 World Cup literally was carrying the team. Even if the team didn't look great, Eden Hazard used to pick up the ball and do stuff. Zidane for France in 2006, you remember that. You're looking at your superstar as, okay, I'm looking at you. What are you doing for me? I'm struggling right here. You're the superstar. Carry me. Make something else happen. Don't be like everyone else on the pitch and be just another one on the pitch that is just doing your job. Look to do something different. This is what I'm looking at Kevin De Bruyne today. I'm like, do something different. The same way we all look at that other stuff like Totti for Italy, or back in the day, Del Piero, or you're looking at France, Kylian Mbappe. I'm looking at the superstar to make things happen. This is it.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with that. And look, I don't think any Belgian player had a great game today. I thought Trossard was underperformed as well. Again, and I'm talking about the level I would expect from a player of Trossard. I'd give him a 5.5, a 6 out of 10. Lukaku, very similar. I thought the substitutions did okay. They came on and made an impact. They lifted the team's level slightly, but not enough. I thought Onana was okay again in the middle. I really would be intrigued to see him. You got to remember, Belgium are probably in the easiest group as well of all the quote unquote bigger footballing nations. They're in the easiest group. I'm intrigued to see Onana in some of these midfield battles that could happen in this tournament as well. But viewers, as ever, want to get your views. This is a top 6 show, so we are going to move on to some transfer news as well in this. So make sure like buttons have been hit and make sure you are subscribed. That's why the panel's here from the beginning, people, because it's not a traditional football terrorist full fan highlight show. So yeah, get the like button hit if you've not done so already, and make sure you are subscribing. Saad, what was your take on that game?
Firstly, listen, I'm so gassed for them, and this is a big win for them, man, against Belgium, who's a big hitter, supposedly in this competition. I think going on to De Bruyne, I think you have to look at De Bruyne, and I completely agree with what Mo said. When your team is struggling to score goals, they're struggling to do anything, you have to look at the big player, because De Bruyne has to then say, you know what, I'm the big player here. I am the captain as well. He's got the captain's armband on. I have to do something. Whenever I take it back to my own team, Arsenal. Whenever we were playing shocking, or we were stuck at times against Bayern Munich away. Do you know what I mean? He's the one who gets up and tries to do something. He starts the presses. Why is De Bruyne not fighting with that same mentality? That same, I'm gonna fight for this team. You know what? Let me just take a shot. I got ability to shoot from outside the box. Let me just throw something at the goal and see what happens. So I think he had a stinky game. Lukaku, the less said about this guy, the better. Couldn't hit a barn door, and even when he does score, something always goes wrong. This guy is a definition of bad luck. I don't know what's up with him, bro. He's the top scorer, bro, but he's the definition of bad luck, bro. How can you miss a lot of chances, and when you do score, something just happens, bro, where it just gets disallowed? And Trossard as well, shocking today. Doku was trying to do stuff, and I think he was one of the main players that was really trying to do something, trying to get something into the box, but still it's not effective. So a lot of the passes that he put into the box are very inaccurate and not reaching anyone. So I think it's a very, very poor game from Belgium, but an amazing game for Slovakia, and I think they deserve to win this because they fought with their hearts, man, out there.
They did, and I want to say as well, congratulations to them. I'm not quite sure how the stat is meant to be read out, but it's the commentator. I heard him state that it's the biggest margin of victory in this competition's history between like a team so lowly ranked versus a team so highly ranked in terms of the FIFA ranking. So from that element, absolutely impeccable. That was more likely to happen
in European club European
Championship history. It was more likely to happen this tournament because they've opened it up for more teams to be in it. So I suppose there's a little bit of a disingenuous nature to that statistic, because back in the day, it was literally the early stages. I swear it was only like 8 teams that were in it, like if you go back 20, 30 years. So it was a little different back then. But yeah, look, they just, again, you look at a lot of the, we're still to see Portugal and we're still to see France play. But out of all the quote unquote big nations, the one call I think everybody's got right so far is Belgium have absolutely zero chance of winning this, more so than any other team that's been mentioned thus far. Super chat here. I assume this is from Slovakia fans. Is very proud of our performance, brave and compact, fought for every ball. Slavinsk. I'm not going to butcher the word, but what does that mean? Come on, Slovakia. Go on.
I wanted to touch on Slovakia for one thing. Did you guys see how composed these players are? Not scared these players are. It's astonishing how a team like this, and I'm going to take this to the English team yesterday, hoofing the ball forward when they were pressed by the Serbians. You are pressed by Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, Doku, Onana, and these guys are so composed on the ball, like it is nothing. I'm going to pass the ball out the back and get it to the forward. Yes, the forward is weaker a little bit, but they were able to just pass the ball from the back to get it to the forward comfortably. And I'm like, how come? This is, to be honest, I'm looking now at Southgate. I'm looking, this guy, the Slovakian manager, was able to condition these players to just be so composed and calm on the ball that nothing is out. You can press with 7-6 players. I'm just going to pass the ball around. None of these players, we don't know the names of these guys, and they were so composed. It's actually absolutely amazing to watch some of these smaller nations, quote unquote, pass the ball from the back and just be so composed and calm on the ball.
I will say this, Mo, me and my brother actually were just watching that game together. Me and my big brother have probably been saying this to each other since we were kids. So you're looking at 30 odd years, that most European nations are far more comfortable in possession than England. We would have the better individual players, but the comfort, especially from the nations from Eastern Europe, they never, typically speaking, had the very best players. Hungary, of course, many years ago did, but their composure, their shape is often very good. I think the only thing I think the teams from Eastern Europe lack is explosive speed. Generally speaking, if they had a little bit more explosive power and speed, especially in the modern day game, it would be key. But viewers, we'd love to get your views. We'd love to get your opinions on the situation. Also credit the ref. He took a look and used his eyes. Listen, I think the refereeing has been absolutely impeccable so far. The use of VAR, the automated offsides are quick. They're decisive in their decisions. And you don't need to even hear it. You know what they're deciding by their actions because it's quick. And I've been very, very, very impressed.
Even the handball, did you see when they done the handball and they showed you like the little reader, and then it showed when he made the touch.
If you don't have that reader, you might go, well, I can't quite see, but you know he touched it. Quick decision, done. Loved it.
And you know the only game that had a controversial decision, it was refereed by Michael Oliver.
Yeah, this is so true. This is so true. It's so true. Moving on from the game, some transfer news to go through today. First, I want to speak about Spurs. Obviously, we've got around 45 minutes, so we're going to, it's not going to be as long as a normal show. But Henry, reports coming out that a £40 million bid has been turned down for Ivan Toney. Is that a player you want your club to go back in for again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not the most legitimate source. A few people at Sky Sports have come out and said there's more chance of them signing for Tottenham for that amount of money or the terms being agreed. There's other reports coming out with agreed personal terms. I actually like Toney. I think he'd be a great addition for us. I know he had a bit of an up and down season last year because of his outside of football issues, but the season before he was close to 20 league goals. And he comes in, starts at number 9. Richarlison's not the worst backup in the world. You got Son who can play there, and like a lot of our fans, we're in Europe next season, whether it's the Europa League or not. We're going to be playing Thursday, Sunday. Last year, towards a lot of the games, we were flagging around the 65th minute, running out of ideas, running out of energy. Like I think a player like Toney, he can create his own individual chances. He's a great finisher. He can hold the ball up. One of the reasons Raya's distribution stats at Brentford was so good because you're pinging it up to an Ivan Toney 9 out of 10 times. Yeah, he's the complete striker for me. I'd sign him, but they apparently want £70 million, and we're not going to pay that with 1 year left in his contract. No chance.
They have no negotiation power. Nobody else wants him. Tottenham are going to get their man, and I think it's going to be a reasonably good deal for you guys. Replacing Harry Kane with Ivan Toney is probably one of the best fits you guys can find at this moment in time. Premier League proven, can play off good wingers, and he will definitely suit your style of play very, very well. I think Tottenham signing Ivan Toney is a really good signing. And if I was to tell you a year ago Harry Kane's going to be leaving and you're going to get Ivan Toney for half his price or even close to half of his price, you probably would have bit your arm off for it. So right now, I think that's the best deal you guys can do. And with the transfer market being so bad, this is as close as an A+ signing for Tottenham I could ever see.
Yeah, 100%. But one of the things that if Daniel Levy get this across the line, now we can say that this guy is moving serious with this Ange Postecoglou, because Daniel Levy normally don't sign players at the end, like towards the end of their career, because there's not going to be a resale value for Ivan Toney. Everyone knows that. He's going to sign a 4-year contract. He's either going to leave on a free or Spurs are going to sell him maybe in 2 years for like much cheaper price. He isn't. So Daniel Levy normally doesn't do these deals, doesn't get a player that doesn't have a resale value. I haven't seen it lately. If he does this deal, if he gets this deal over the line, that means he truly believes in this Ange thing and Ange project, and he's trying to back him and he's trying to get him the tools to actually make it work for him. So we can stop saying, oh, he doesn't back the manager. Daniel Levy is not doing what he can do. Now, if he gets this over the line, and I agree with you, Egal, 70 million is not going to be the price. No, they have nothing here to hold on to. It's 1 year left. Nobody wants him. 40 million is going to be 45 million.
Is he not more important? Is it not more important? Is he not more valuable to Brentford? Like, those years ago.
1 year, not Henry. Not 1 year, Henry. For 1 year left at his contract. What is he going to do? They're not going to make Europe. I'm sorry. Unless he renews the contract, unless he signs a new contract with Brentford.
Yeah,
that's going to let him go on a free.
He's probably going to cost more than
contract.
Yeah, he might do, but I think Ivan Toney would let the contract run down and go on a free. I think there are clubs interested in him. They're just trying to get him as cheap as possible. I think he's an excellent player, and it's weird how. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a fashion thing. The hype surrounding Ivan Toney is completely dissipated in the last 6 months. He came back, and he didn't have the sort of the prodigal son return that everybody expected, but that was because he didn't have a pre-season, and they're so important for football players. Getting that base fitness at the start of a campaign is key. It's like a boxer not having a good training camp. When it comes to that fight, especially outside the opening couple of rounds, it's going to impact you if your training camp was bad. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what we saw with Ivan Toney. I think he's an incredible football player. I think he will. I was so annoyed that we didn't get to see much of him last night with Harry Kane dropping an absolute stinker. Wasn't his fault. He was marked out of the game. It happens. I would have loved to have seen Toney come on and given a good 20, 25 minutes to show the world what he's capable of. I think there's a real player in there, and the amount of chances and opportunities that Spurs create, even when they've got the Richarlisons and the like holding the line, you're going to be creating chances for him for days. So I see him being a huge success, and it might cost you 50 odd million, but I still think for a player of his ability who shows no sign of slowing down for the next 4 years, £50 million in itself is an absolute snip if you go up to that level. I think it's a phenomenal piece of business if you can bring him in for that kind of money. I really, really do. I really, really do.
I think he transforms
Absolute
Tottenham.
bargain. 100% he does. 100%. Their main problem was them not creating chances. Their main problem was putting stuff away. With Timo Werner, with the likes of Brennan Johnson, with the likes of Richarlison. I know he got a few goals last season. I think he ended on 12 goals, I think, or 13
I think
goals.
he got 13 goals. Johnson got around 10. Kulu got around 8. I think Son
Still
got
not enough.
27
Do you know what I mean?
GA. But then the drop off is like night and
Yeah.
day. It's
And
massive.
I think that's the problem. Like to bring in somebody like Ivan Toney, that starts it off with a lot more chances are going to go in. The chances that are created for him, like we are yet to see Ivan Toney in a team that creates loads of chances and just on chances on a plate for him to just put them away. And let's see how many goals he can really get. We've seen him at Brentford, and he's reached, I think, the 20-25 goal mark. Point already, so let's see what he can do at a much better club where he's getting more chances and they're more comfortable in games, how they deal with him playing in possession. I think that's going to be one of the main things that he's going to have to tackle at first, is handling being in a team that keeps possession and has majority of their possession, playing against low blocks. Because I really do think, like, once you're playing against for Brentford, it's completely different to what happens when you come to a bigger club, man. We've seen that with so many players.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree with you on that. I really, really do. Viewers, love to get your views on some of the transfer stories that are circulating at the minute. Speaking of strikers and London teams, obviously Chelsea were linked with Šeško. It didn't happen. We know why. They're looking at the Duran deal, and there's talk that £40 million is what could happen. 40 million is too high, though, according to Ben Jacobs. They're not willing to pay that, but they're still pushing for the deal. There's also talk today of Guirassy, who is available for £17 million. 17 million pounds, far more experienced. Well, Henry, what do you think Chelsea should do in this circumstance? Because they seem to really like Duran, but he could end up costing them more than double plus players what Guirassy is available for. I'm a little confused why they're even considering Duran over Guirassy. What's your take?
I mean, well, yeah, he had a fantastic season at Stuttgart. I think he got, what was it, 20 odd goals, but it's the only season recently where he's got, kind of those heights. What is he, 27, 28? Duran's a weird one for me because his best goal scoring season in his career is in the MLS. So I know he come on and he did some good bits for Aston Villa off the bench and that. Ollie Watkins is unbelievable form this season. But if I was to choose a player out of the two to kind of, if he comes and drops a 20-goal season in a Chelsea shirt, Guirassy, that could be the difference between them getting where they were in the Champions League. I don't see Duran coming in to that Chelsea team and getting a 20-goal season, like 20 goals in all comps. It's a massive bargain. I'm scratching my head going, well, okay, you linked to Elise, that makes sense. You got Palmer, you got Nkunku, but then you look at that striker, it's big question marks. And notoriously, other than like Drogba and Costa, the last 15, 20 odd years, they've been poor at signing strikers. You think like Etu, Morata, Falcao, Higuain. I see this Duran as kind of going in that kind of bracket of it's a questionable signing. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I'd stay away at Duran. Give him another season.
It depends. So they pay 40 million for Duran, and he comes in as the two strikers in Jackson and Duran. You're really looking at prospects. Like you're hoping, you're putting your season on someone who is 21 years old, has 600 minutes in total in the Premier League, by the way, 400 minutes only this season. You're looking at Guirassy, 17 million. I think there's no brainer here. It's just even if he comes in and gives you 10 goals, you got your money's worth. What are you going to lose? 28 years old. What are you going to lose? 17 million. He's not going to be on high wages. He's coming from Stuttgart. He's not going to ask for the 200K. I think it's a no-brainer. 40 million for Duran at the current moment for Chelsea. If Chelsea had an established forward and they go for Duran, I would say, go for it. Understudy. You're getting an understudy for an understudy already, which is Jackson.
Yeah. They're banking on the potential, or they're banking on the security of an older player. I fully agree with you, Mo. But to me, what are Chelsea pushing for? They're just pushing to Are they pushing to just get back into top four? Or are they trying to strive to get better for the future. Because maybe believe in your scouts and go for the Duran, even though I think the price tag is ridiculous for a player who's barely played much minutes. But we know how striker market is. If they go and get Guirassy, yes, he's a little bit more experienced. He's going to probably be on loan at Strasbourg in a year. Like I don't see him more than a year stopgap. Do they need a stopgap at this moment in time when they're already planning on building a whole young team? I think Chelsea, they could creep up on us in the sense that they could get good really fast. And do they want older players in their team that are stopgaps when they get back into the top 4, or do they want younger players that have the sell-on value, that are very good potential? I don't know too much about Duran. From what I've seen from him in the Premier League, he looks like a really good young talent, and he scored a couple of decent goals against Liverpool and some other teams. But I would rather go for that and believe in my scouts than go and sign a stopgap in Guirassy, where in a year's time I'm going to be looking at him saying like, why is this guy in my team?
But they need to get
Nah,
back
he's
to
not,
that
bro.
league.
That's not even it,
What are you
bro.
talking-
That's not even it, bro. Have you seen Guirassy, bro? He's actually a very good striker.
I've seen what he's doing for Stuttgart. I've seen he scored a lot of good goals this season. But with a profile of very young team, do you want another older striker in that situation?
Yes, you don't want a young guy.
But you don't want. Yes,
He's only 28.
Exactly. He's not.
He's not like
I mean,
34.
yeah,
He's not like Lewandowski when he moved from Bayern.
Exactly. He's talking like he's 34 years old, bro, and he's nearly done. He's about to
how do you want a club? How do you want a club that have a lot of prospects and a lot of young players to sign another young player hoping that he will come good? He have experience. Guirassy might not have had the Premier League experience, but he had seasons and seasons in top flight in France, in Germany. That by itself is an experienced player on the pitch. This guy Duran, as good as talented he is, I'm sorry, he doesn't have enough minutes in him to come and lead the line if Jackson is off, if Jackson is injured, if Jackson is not having the good start of the season. I'm not sure why you want Chelsea to go for another prospect. Why?
I'm just saying, bank on your scouts. If you believe your scouts got Duran and he could potentially be better than Guirassy, you go for the upside. But if you want the safety and security, then you go for Guirassy. Either way,
sorry to interject, but the scouts are looking at both.
No, I'm saying, what are they looking at potentially?
But it's a mixture. Can you name me a team that has been built predominantly on young, inexperienced potential that has ever achieved greatness?
I don't know every team in the history, Terry. I can't.
So I can't think of one. Most of the teams that have youngsters that are part of their group that achieve greatness have a very good, skilled, established senior core. So I think the problem is with this approach is it's like why Tosin's such a great signing. I think he's 26. He's a couple of years younger, yes, but he just has that experience. He's a fully grown man. You're bringing in you'll bring someone in that will walk into the dressing room and be a leader straight away, just due to his age. You sign another inexperienced fledgling. You sign too many of them. You may end up having the same problems of last year, especially when the going gets tough, because young players find it hard in that environment. I get where you're coming from. If they think Duran is going to go on to be an absolute world beater, then sign him. But the fact they're saying £40 million is too much tells me they don't think he's going to be an absolute world beater, because £40 million for a young player that you think is going to become a superstar is cheap, in my personal opinion. But I think Guirassy's good. There's definitely the chance he comes here and doesn't deliver in the Prem. We've seen that happen before. I just look at everyone else they're linked to or trying to sign, from Elise, Shesko, Tosin. Now I see Duran and I look at him compared to the others. You ever seen that that meme of all the soldiers waiting behind a wall and then there's like a clown there with them? That's just how that signing looks in comparison to everyone else Chelsea's linked to. It's an experience. It's a weird one for me.
1 second. When I say they need experience, I usually say they need more experience in the defense, because last year their defense was where I was saying they should have got more experience, because they only had Thiago.
Egal, let me ask you a question, please.
When it comes to strikers, I don't necessarily look at a striker and say, oh, that's where you need your experience. Yes, they need finishing ability, but my main thing is your main experience and your leadership comes from your defense. So that's where you should focus on.
Would you take Duran or would you take Guirassy, Egal, at Arsenal?
Right now?
70 million versus 40 million. Okay, 70 million.
I wouldn't look at either of them potentially, really.
Guirassy 100%.
I wouldn't
Guirassy,
look at either of them.
But
really and
Chelsea,
truly.
Chelsea need
score,
for their financial side to get back
If
in the
I
Champions League.
if I had to pick, I wouldn't pick either of them, honestly. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick the person who produced more goals. So yeah, Guirassy.
All right.
But it's not,
Maybe
it's not
that's
even,
what
it's not
Xavi
even
wants.
that.
We're in a
You
different
have to
state.
look at you have to look at their situation right now. What they need is experience in any way that they can find it. Now they've come across Guirassy, who can come in. He can score with his left foot. He can score with his right foot. He scores headers. He scores volleys. He scores outside the box. He does it all. He's an all-round striker. He even comes in deep, pause, and then actually plays a little link up. You know what I mean? So he's a genuinely good striker. He's 6 foot. He's 6'3", I think. He's 6'3", a tall striker as well. Like, bro, what else is there to need, bro?
Let me just say this though.
And low risk as well.
We've seen teams before make signings with young players, and they have the ability to sell them on if things go wrong. Where Guirassy, if I'm not mistaken, what is it, 17 million? So it's not that much of a financial risk. So from that perspective, I hear you guys. But say if Guirassy comes in and in a year's time he's not good, where are they going to send him? What are they going to do?
But you're talking like an owner, Egal. You're talking like a resale value.
That's
you're
where
talking like
that's
an
what I'm
owner,
thinking
really.
Because Chelsea are not Chelsea. I don't think Guirassy comes in and he changes everything, and they win the FA Cup. They go on to win the conference.
I don't think Duran does either. I don't think Duran goes in.
But the thing is, I'm looking at where this Chelsea team might be in 3-4 years' time. Guirassy's not going to be part
of enough of these guys.
Egal, I do understand you. I understand your logic, Egal. I understand where you're coming from.
I'm trying to look at the timeline of success that Chelsea
you are right. And if they just sign players that are 20 to 21 that could become great, even if they don't quite reach that level, they could sell them and reinvest. And we know this is similar to an approach that Arsenal took. I remember the reporters talking about this maybe 2 summers ago, and their approach was very much they're going to buy players that have sell-on value so that even if they don't reach the heights, they can sell them on and reinvest that money into the team. And that makes sense. But you also get to a point where you have to take some gambles. And Chelsea are in a position because the first 2 years of this rebuild hasn't gone their way, where I think they have to take a few gambles and they have to buy a few players that they believe will be good enough now and help them now. Man United did it with Casemiro. The unfortunate thing is his legs went sooner than we anticipated, but he was still the signing we sort of needed to help shore up our midfield that first season. We needed that experience in there, but it's about getting the overarching balance right. So I understand Arsenal's approach, and I think it's worked very well for Arsenal to a degree. Like they're at the point where they now should start be judged on winning those major trophies or not. But not you can't always follow the exact same model, because Chelsea have gone backwards in their rebuild, where you actually look at it, you guys started to go forward. You won a trophy early on, as an example. So I don't necessarily think you can just look at every single project and go, you've got to do exactly the same thing. You have to look at your current circumstance, who is available, who can you bring in. And I think at 28 years of age, that age profile of player could be so key to helping these youngsters develop into what they need to be in 2 or 3 years' time, especially with the manager as young as they've got as well. But listen, I understand where Egal's coming from, and it could end up being absolutely right if Guirassy comes in. You know, but the thing is, at 17 million, it's really not that. If they bought Duran and he flopped and sold him in 2 years, they would lose more money still than buying Duran for 17 million and letting him leave in 12 months for free. But so you could still just let him go. I still don't think it's that pressured of a deal, because it's only 17 million.
I can understand where Egal's coming from. Yeah, I fully understand. The resale value might not be as much as a possible Duran. If Duran gets good and actually becomes a good player, and they could resell him for a lot. But what I look at is, have they not got enough players to resell? Have they not been doing this whole thing for like a year now? And bought in hundreds of freaking like millions, hundreds of millions of players, of pounds worth of players. Like, for them to say, oh, look at the resale value in him. In 10 years or 5 years, look at him. He's going to be resale value. We're getting him for the future. Like, have they not done enough of it now? Now, I think you've done enough of buying these players that are for the future. Now you need to buy certain experienced players that are for the now. Yeah, because you can't just keep on going for the future.
You know what? I agree with you there. I think both signings are really underwhelming. And I'm confused what direction Chelsea are trying to go in. Why are they still signing unknown names? Shouldn't they maybe reinvest in other areas of the pitch if they can't directly find somebody who they think is a direct difference maker right away in that striker position.
Didn't you defend Sesko's signing for Arsenal when they
No,
were
Sesko re-signed. I would have taken Sesko, and I think Sesko would have been good for Chelsea also.
Is he not unknown?
So
What?
you defended Sesko, and Guirassy had more goals in the Bundesliga, though.
Because Sesko, once again, the potential. He's 20 years old. It's a different situation. He
Yeah,
played.
I just
He played
don't-
13 games, got 11 goals.
I mean, how old was Ian Wright when Arsenal signed him?
28.
See, it's again, I'm not saying Guirassy is going to be Ian Wright for Chelsea. I'm not. But if he goes there and repeats his goal scoring form, he could be, right? But I just don't think you can have this blanket rule. You can have a policy at a club that we tried, and Man United are introducing it, where majority of your signings, you try to get under the age of 20, 25. City have a very similar policy. You look over the last 4 or 5 seasons, 80, 90% of their signings have all been 25 years old or younger. But then you get the outliers, the Kovacic's of this world as an example. And I think that's where you have to pick and choose. I don't think those policies can be blanket. I don't think they can be absolute. I think there needs to be room for maneuver. But viewers, give us your thoughts and feelings on those 2 deals. Before we touch on Arsenal, because they're linked to 2 very interesting players today, and I want to get everyone's views. Man United, there are some reports we have. There are some reports saying we will put in a new bid for Branthwaite. 35 million has been turned down, but Man United very publicly making it aware that they are not prepared to pay over the valuation. They're looking at other targets. Gahey's name has come up. We know that Lenny Yoro's name has come up as well. What do you think Man United should do, Henry, when it comes to Branthwaite? Should they pay what Everton are asking, or should they move on to other targets they deem to be of similar level or the same level and what they within the price range they're willing to pay?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you got the English tax side of things where, you know, he might not be worth 80 million to Man United, but he had a fantastic season for Everton, and that's what they're valuing him at. I think they'll put in a second bid of around the 50 million mark, 55 million, test the waters again, and then it puts the ball in Everton's court. But I've seen the name come up a few times, but Jean-Claire Todibo, who's what, 23, 24. I know he's a right-sided centre-back, but out at Nice, he's, according to like the French outlets, he's available for 20 million euros. Like, I look at him, Tottenham linked to him a few years ago, and he decided to reject it because he wanted to stay in France for another year. You know, that would be a sign that I'd be all over if I was Man United. You know, there's a big hole in that centre-back with Varango and Lindelof's futures in doubt. I think Johnny Evans is going to probably stay on another year. Harry Maguire. I wouldn't go out and, I mean, the fee is around, what, the 75, 70 million pound, probably 80 million with add-ons. But that's what you've got to pay for a half-decent English player now, you know. Yes, he's had a couple of, or one and a half seasons good in the Premier League, but I don't think personally he's worth that. I think you could probably bring in 2 centre-backs if you look across Europe's top leagues and that are roughly the same level, or if not better. But I don't know what Man United's homegrown situation is like. Do they need to bring in homegrown players, or is this purely because the fact that
Man United's homegrown situation is always pretty good because our academy always produces.
So is there not another centre back out there who's left-footed, who's cheaper than the 70 million price tag at that level? Probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is. And I think that for me as a United fan is, I've been saying all along about this deal. I mean, he's not a left-footed centre-back, but there's obviously Todibo, who we're looking at. There's Lenny Yoro, who is favoured to go to Real Madrid, to be fair. Liverpool have reportedly put a bid in for him, but we're looking at him. I'm intrigued by this deal on 2 levels for us, more so than I think anybody else's club. How much we spend this summer is really interesting. If we end up spending 120, 130 million, some will say it's because we're broke. I'm intrigued to see what quality we get for that and whether we actually start playing prices closer to what you see the Cities and Liverpool pick players up for. Because City and Liverpool, as 2 teams, they typically, for me, have been able to sign players for 10, 20, 30% less than Man United consistently for a decade and sell for 10, 20, 30% more than we do. And that's a real key factor for me. And that's why I said this when the club spoke about doing this 2 summers ago, but it ended up being the same people running the club and nothing really changed. I'm almost prepared to miss out on targets as a Man United fan to ensure we start getting people at a fair price later on down the line, because this delusional notion of it's not my money, I don't care, just spend it on a player. I kind of get that logic if you're if you've got a chance to get your team's already amazing, you're already one of the best in the world, and you're trying to sign Mbappe, and you're willing to pay 100 million, but they want 110. Then you pay extra 10 million pound because you're great. When you're trying to build a squad, you can't be spending 30 million pounds more out of your budget on a centre back that you don't think is worth it, and then 20 million pound more on a new midfielder that you don't think is worth the 70 million you're now paying over 50, because you will never complete the building of your squad. It's like the old mathematical equation. If you're 100 meters away from your destination, and every step of your journey, you only complete 50% of the remaining distance, you never get to the end. That's Man United when it comes to rebuilding the squad. We never get to the end because we mess up on the financial side. And fans, they don't focus on that. So for me, yes, I want good players. Yes, I want quality. But I don't want it to come at any cost, because that cost has been one of the biggest problems at our club in the last decades. And fans just don't seem to want to realize it. And then the manager doesn't get what he wants to deliver. We've pulled the rug from under his feet. What we've done stupidly is go off in a new direction and started that process again. And it's why we've got a Frankenstein squad. So, listen, I really hope we stand strong. They wanted 80 million to begin with. I think I personally, this is just my own personal feeling, I think 60 million is the max I would go to on him, where I'd go, you're still getting a fair amount off of what they wanted as an example. If we could get him anywhere in the 50s, then I'd be really chuffed. Anything below 50 million, then I'd be absolutely... I don't think 35 million is quite enough, to be fair. If we picked him up for a 45 million, I think knocking off nearly 40 million pound of the original asking price is a great start. On the quality... Sorry, go on.
First of all, I just want to say I hate the fact that I'm seeing Manchester United running like a better club, because usually you guys would just let this drag out and pay the price at the end of this summer anyways. But so it's a good, you guys should be really happy as United fans that you're seeing your club having strict rules around how they're going to do transfers. It will definitely benefit you guys in the long run. And if you don't get Braithwaite, you guys are looking at some serious ballers. When it comes to that guy who plays for Lille, that center back, he is amazing. And if there was one that I would get out of the three, I think he has the highest ceiling. You don't have to worry about the English tax. You won't necessarily, I think he'll climatize quite well to the Premier League, being with his height, his physicality, and his ability on the ball. I think if anyone out of the three you should go for, what was his name again? I forgot how to pronounce his name, but it's Euro or Euro?
Euro.
Yeah, Euro is a baller. Braithwaite, I think, is a good player also, but the English tax is going to slap another 30, maybe 40 million on top of it. And if they sell Onana, that might be the worst case scenario for Manchester United, because now they're going to try to get a more higher valuation for Braithwaite also. So there's so many steps to it. Maybe just try to get the deal done with Lille as quick as possible, because Real Madrid are after him, Liverpool are after him, and the transfer window's early. This is where you have your opportunity to strike quick, where later in the window, dominoes are going to start to fall, and you might be in a situation where Everton have all the negotiation power.
Well, of course, and Onana's at the Euro, so it's almost impossible to get a deal done for him right now, where Branthwaite isn't. So you've got to strike while the iron is hot. But equally, if we just turn around and go, look, we're not paying over 50, and then we do walk away and go and get Todibo, we walk away and pulled off Lenny Euro, that's also a great sign, as you've said, where we're not dragging it on for 3 months. We're just saying, boom, see you later then. And that will start to the next player we go in for, especially if they really want to join us, that puts more pressure on the player to push for a move, because they know Man United will go elsewhere. And Twisted Bubba here says, Terry prepared to chop off his nose to spite his face. No, always by the best. See, I'm going to reverse that. I hear your point, but I think signing a player at any cost when you're at the beginning of a rebuild, where you've got to be thrifty at times with your money, that is almost cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's almost like I'm going to go out and buy the best ingredients in the world to make the greatest dinner ever, but you haven't paid your gas or electric bills, so you can't turn the oven on. That's what it is for me. We overspend on stars at United at times, but we don't have the foundation to bring it to life. And Man United, what I find really interesting is Man United fans are angry about this, and I've seen them online fuming. Just pay the money, just do it, just get it done. You're asking for the same bad behaviors that led to us being the team you despise. It's honestly, I find it staggering. It's absolutely staggering that Man United fans are struggling with this, but I'm not surprised, because whenever the likes of myself or Neeks have spoke about this situation in the last 10 years on socials, or 8 to 9 to 10 years on socials, it's always been, just buy some ballers and get a better manager and we'll win. And it's just crazy to see. But yeah, I don't want us to overpay. I don't, but we'll see what happens.
Terry, the transfer window opened 3 days ago. People are still yelling and screaming, where are the signings? It's crazy.
It's again, everybody that's yelling, where is the signings? are also forgetting that it's the European Championships are on and Copa America is on, which will slow it down further. And again, yeah, I've seen fans of Man United, I've seen fans of Arsenal, I've seen fans of Liverpool kicking off. Why don't we have like the bigger and better clubs? Well, we all agree City are well run. We all agree that Real Madrid are well run. Are they all? Where all that? Don't give me Mbappe. That deal was done 6 months ago. Where are all their signings? All the clubs that are run well. That's the problem with these individuals. They're not even angry. They understand it. They're lying. They're lying. They're lying.
According to certain journalists, the big and baddest clubs are not even making signings this summer. So that's all I'm saying.
It's crazy. Back. It's crazy. On Arsenal, there's a number of links today to a couple of players, and I wanted to get your boys' take on it. The first one was around Victor Osimhen, and that Arsenal like him. Arsenal kind of want him, but they think he's well overvalued. They value it around 75 million as opposed to this 130, 140 million price tag. What's your view on that, Egal, in terms of what you think Arsenal should do from this point?
I think we're priced out of a move for what do you call it, Victor Osimhen. Napoli are going to want 130 million euros. I don't know how much that translates into pounds, but they're notoriously known for being difficult. We've seen what they did with Man City and Koulibaly and that whole situation. They don't change on their stance on their forwards and any of their players. And Mo, you probably know, being a fan of a Serie A club, Napoli are notoriously known for being difficult to deal with in the transfer window. So if we ever do get a deal done for Victor Osimhen, best believe we're going to have to pay the release clause. And I just don't see Arsenal paying more than the 80 to 70 million that they value the player at. And that just makes me worry what we're going to do for the striker situation. It's still very early. The window is not close to being finished, but Napoli's going to have to lower their valuation if anybody's going to get Victor Osimhen this summer, I think.
I think Victor Osimhen wants to move.
He does.
Yeah.
I think Napoli is
that is the difference.
Badly.
He wants to move, and it's not like the Kvaratskhelia situation. The guy has been promised to move. That is the difference between him and Kvaratskhelia. He was promised to move if he stayed at the club last season. And I think Arsenal can get this deal done around the 80 million pounds.
Really?
80 million pounds, 100, yes. He wants to. There's a difference between him and Kvaratskhelia. Kvaratskhelia is 21 years old or 22 years old. This guy isn't. Like, he's 25, 26. He was promised to move by De Laurentiis. He can kick a fuss. You know what I mean? I actually think Arsenal, if they go in and negotiate, as tough as De Laurentiis is, I think Arsenal can start negotiating. We are not going to hear all of this if De Laurentiis is not willing to budge. I think the problem is Arsenal are not even getting close. As you said, Egal, it's just half the price now. Arsenal need to move closer so that you're going to close the distance a little bit.
Do that. They do that.
Instead of saying, we're paying 60 million, and De Laurentiis said, I want 100 million.
Mo, we do this all the I'm telling you, we do this all the time. Bro, when you came in for Declan Rice, what was our first bid? They were asking for 120, 130 million. 75 million on the table. You're asking for 135? 75 million on the table. Let's see what happens. I like it. It's smart. I like it.
It's a way because nobody, before Egal goes, I actually like this approach from Arsenal. Arsenal are not bending over for Napoli. Arsenal are not saying, yeah, we're going to give you what you want. No one is in for him.
But
who's paying the money for the guy?
That's the same thing.
You want to move him? You have to negotiate and sit at the table with us.
This is the same thing that even bluffing. This is what I like. I like this about Arsenal, and especially I clocked it about Man United. When they made that first bid for Jared Branthwaite, I was like, okay, these guys are learning now. They're learning because they normally Man United would just go in, get close to the valuation. They'll be like, "Oh, we can't get it. All right, let's just pay you what you want." Yeah, but even us, we don't even do that, and I love that. I don't care. I don't care if it takes us all summer. As long as we can get him before the preseason, that's all I'm worried about. As long as he's on that plane going to America for the preseason, that is all I care about. Other than that, I don't care how long it takes. He's Euros. Well, he's not even at the Euros, but you know what I mean. Let's just let it take however long it has to be. I think he's a good player. I have my questions about his injury record and how many injuries he has.
A big injury,
but
like it's not that.
He does, bro. You guys try selling a dream. He does. It is big.
I don't care. I'm not getting paid.
Mo is.
I'm not getting paid.
But Mo is big. But anyway, I just think his injury record. I don't know how he's gonna handle the Premier League, but I think he's an amazing player, man. Listen,
who's the problem? Here's the problem. I know. Like Henry wants to speak about Osimhen. A lot of Arsenal fans don't want him, which is
That's true.
astonishing to me. They don't want him. By the way, some of them talk about the injury record, which is maybe I understand that. Some of them don't believe in his footballing ability.
Do you know what I think that you've got? I get the injury comment. Some don't like him as a player. I get these two things. I also do think there are some Arsenal fans, the same as every fan base has this percentage of fans who don't want the high profile signings because then there is pressure on them to deliver. If you go and sign a 20 million pound unknown player and everybody says he'll flop, there's a percentage of fans at all clubs that go, I love that, because if he flops, everyone expected it. If he delivers, I can go ha ha ha. When you drop 80, 90 million pounds on a player, it doesn't matter what you really think about him. It's, well, you've got to deliver at that kind of money. And I almost feel like, so you do get some that don't rate him, granted, some don't want the injuries, but I think there is a percentage, maybe 25, 30%, who just don't want the pressure of a big money 25-year-old signing of a player, again, who the hype has dropped away, the fashionable approach. And I want Osimhen. A year ago, Simmons, sorry, I keep saying it wrong. A year ago, everyone was falling over for him. Now everyone's, I'm not too sure. Reminds me of Ivan Toney. Henry, what were you going to say, mate? Sorry.
I think Napoli are in a lot of trouble. They've sold a number of players in the last 3 or 4 years. That you've now got, I can't pronounce his name, so I always call him Cravadonna. His agent last night drops a bombshell, says he wants out. Victor Osimhen has got a gentleman's agreement saying he wants out. They finished 10th. They're not in Europe. You know, Inter Milan are probably going to win the league next year again because they've got the best manager in the league and the best squad. Sorry?
They got Conte, though, Napoli.
Yeah. Conte can't work miracles.
The
If they sell Cravadonna and Osimhen in the same window,
Conte might leave straight away.
Yeah, Conte will say, like, what on earth are you doing to me? Like, what?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, though. Do you know why I don't think so? Because Conte loves to work with older players, bro. He loves it. He would just say, as long as you sell those players and give me the money so I can have my shopping list.
What's the attractive thing about...
He'll go get Lukaku.
You got AC
Bro, he'll
Milan
go and get players, bro. You'll get
Henry,
Lukaku,
you know,
probably
guys,
work.
why Henry's onto something? Do you know why before he goes on? I actually don't think that Conte fancies Osimhen that much. All he's talking about is Lukaku. Since day one of signing that contract, Napoli are like, we want Lukaku. We want Lukaku. And nothing is about Osimhen. Right?
Yeah.
He's really... Did you notice that? Like, there's no talk from him about
they're also, if you're sensible in your Napoli, what you do is you tell Conte we want you, but you let him know likely these two go. What you can't do to Conte is promise him something and then take it away. The other player that Arsenal will link to is Xavi Simons, who didn't really set the world alight in the first game for the Netherlands. But Saad, like, by your reaction there, that seems to have got your juices flowing somewhat.
Since I saw this guy run rings around us at the Emirates Stadium in the Europa League, I've wanted him, bro. I've wanted him at my club, and since then, bro, I don't care what it takes. A loan offer, whatever they want to offer, I don't care. Just bring him to my club, loan offer, and if he's good and he actually comes in and patters a position and is able to get proper minutes and actually does something off the bench, because I don't think he's going to start, but he's definitely going to come off the bench, and I think he's an amazing player. So if he's able to do that, just go out, give him a trial run this next season, and then next season just spend the money on him, because I think he's a very good player. Technical ability, his finisher, his good passer. Like, bro, I just think he's very good for his age, and I'd love to have him, man. I'd love to have him.
I would love to have him also. And stay with me now. When I'm about to say, you guys are going to get angry or something, but I really do believe he could be our Bernardo Silva, that player that can play in the midfield and can play on the wing, contribute from so many different areas in the pitch. He's so versatile. He's young. He's exciting. He can get forward and contribute with goals. He's one of the most technically gifted players. This was a guy who was a Barcelona captain at the age of like 16 or something like that in La Masia, in the academy, and he's been doing it from young ages. Everyone knows how gifted he is. He ran rings around us in the Europa League. He was one of the top scorers and won the league in the Eredivisie. He's done it in what do you call it, Germany. And I think if he came to the Premier League, it wouldn't take him too long to get used to it. The only problem we have is Bayern Munich want him. All these other clubs want him, and PSG seem to be willing to let him out on loan, but they might not want to sell him. So will Arsenal take a player on loan that they actually cannot guarantee they'll end up getting a deal and just increase his value for some other club. I don't think Arsenal is going to do that.
But
we're gonna have to get an agreement in place for him to sign for us before we actually go and take a loan.
Do you know why they want him to? Do you know why they want to loan him out? Why PSG keep on loaning him out? Because apparently PSV, if they sell now, PSV get like, I think 50 or 60 or 70% of the sale from some weird thing that they put in. So if they after 2025, January 2025 or summer 2025, they can sell him and get full value for what they sell for him. So they don't want to sell him now until next summer is when they want to sell him.
Just give him to us on loan with a potential agreement to have him on another loan if it works out. And then we buy him full afterwards. But that's never going to happen, unfortunately. The way transfers work, what's the chances Arsenal can get a 2-year loan deal approved and then a purchase overall? So, yeah, based on that, you're basically saying Arsenal are not going to go and get a player on loan that they're not going to buy. So, based on how our club works, this deal seems unlikely.
The only guy that if I'm sitting here and saying Arsenal get a 21 years old or a 22 years old, this is the guy. Why? He can be the backup for Saka on the right side. He's not going to come in and be the guy that he can be that understudy even as a false 9, a second striker. I have it. He can, exactly, like this is the guy. The only 21. You're like, listen, I've sat on many shows and I said Arsenal need to sign ready-made player, but not this guy because the positions he play already full. The Odegaard, Saka. So you can get him even on loan with an option to buy. I think it would be fantastic, to be honest.
Yeah. On top of that, the guy's played 100. According to Transfer Market here, he's played 142 times. So he's 21, but he's experienced. Yeah. And look, there is going to be a transition. Can he do it in the Premier League? But that question mark goes over every player that moves to the league. You'll either think yes or you'll think no. I agree with what you've said. He could be an understudy to Saka. He could be an understudy to Odegaard. But I think he possesses the technical ability to keep one of those players. He can't keep both on the bench potentially. And that is what Arsenal have to strive for. Because if Xavi comes in and it's the right-hand side, say Saka misses a month, Xavi comes in and never looks back, and then Saka struggles to get back in the team on the right-hand side, as long as Arsenal are improving, as long as Arsenal are winning, there shouldn't be a single Arsenal fan on planet Earth that cares about that. And if you do, and you love an individual player more than your club, you've got problems. So I think this would be a tremendous signing. I also agree that he's not for sale this summer is a little bit of posturing. I also think, now no club would admit this, that you could probably do a deal behind the scenes that will give you that guarantee of buying in the next year. It just might not be able to be in writing anywhere because of how much money said clubs was set to gain. And we know that those kind of dodgy dealings definitely go on in football. So, yeah, look, I think...
but Terry, look at what happened with...
Indeed.
Look at what happened with Man United in the Erling Haaland deal. You guys could have got him for very cheap, but you didn't want to because of the sell-on clause and all these issues that you guys just wouldn't do. So sometimes the clubs that the player is currently employed for can kind of ruin you from a perfect deal.
No, I totally get that. Just before the end of the show, because the game's about to start, I want to get your a quick opinion on something. It's in the thumbnail. Forgot to mention it. Want to bring it up. Should England drop Phil Foden for the next game?
Try starting Luke Shaw instead of Kieran.
Yes.
Gives more width, and I could sit here and bash Phil Foden, but at least give him an out ball, give him somebody to overlap. Because I think Kieran Trippier was as much as a problem as Phil Foden, and he doesn't get any criticism because he wasn't really helping on that left side. If you look at how the heat map was played, Foden was in so much, he had nobody on that left side to assist him. And I think if you play Kieran Trippier there, you're hurting yourself. Where if you play Luke Shaw, if he is fit and available, as the chat are telling me he's injured, then it might benefit him. But if he's not available, then you drop him and you play Anthony Gordon.
I think you could play. I think you drop Trippier. You put Trent at left back. You put Bellingham in the 8, Foden in the 10, and you play an actual wide man out there. His best performances this season have been in the 10. Jude Bellingham before he got to Real Madrid was an 8, and Trent in the left back position can overlap, and he's one of the best passers in world football. Like Trippier, like you look at I know he had this free roam position, but Trippier was basically for the first half was so far forward. If Trent's there, that killer ball's played in behind. Harry Kane has no service until a wide back. Sorry?
Why are we trying to put right-footed players at left back? I think this is the problem.
Yeah,
We're
but
trying
that,
to put
that was a
right-footed left.
narrative.
And
Like
even
30
if we
years
have
ago, not
no,
now.
but even if you have like, I think he should be dropped because in a big nation you have to make big calls. Gareth Southgate has to grow some balls and actually make the big call to say, you know what, you had a terrible game. You were not even in the game for majority of
If
it.
that's the case, then we
And
drop Harry Kane as well.
invisible. Harry Kane should be dropped. Harry Kane should
That's
be
the
dropped.
case,
He
then we
doesn't,
might as well
he
drop
doesn't
him.
deserve he doesn't deserve to go the next game. He doesn't deserve because he made in that second half he made one pass.
Yeah, I know, but it
He's
is a
getting
bad
service.
game. But he's the
What are we
captain.
doing
He
here,
can't
bro?
be. He doesn't deserve to be dropped. Look, it's an interesting one. Look, we're gonna have more of a debate on that later on in the week. But look, the France versus Austria game. Austria, by the way, a lot of people are picking them to be their dark horses. So I'm intrigued to go and watch this. Off the United connection. Saliba starting tonight as well. Mbappe on show. Lots to sink our teeth into. We're going to be live
Kanate on the
after.
bench.
Who?
Kanate's on the bench, by the way.
That's
Is
the
he-
most
he-
stupid. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. How is Konate on the bench?
He
Upamecano
is-
still gets to play another 90
Panato,
minutes.
he's got a virus and is not 100% ready. That's why he's been ill. That's why.
Okay. fair.
But viewers, listen, this stream is going to take you through to Sam's channel for his watch along. We'll be live back on the Football Terrace at full time after this game. So we'll see you all again then. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again